Darwin chega à última etapa de sua viagem a bordo do Beagle. Depois de ter pesquisado ao longo do litoral argentino, da Terra do Fogo até a Cordilheira dos Andes, Darwin descobre as evidências da sua hipótese revolucionária. Conchas e fósseis marítimos encontrados a 4.000 metros de altitude são uma pista de que os Andes teriam sido arrancados do fundo do mar. Um cataclisma e uma onda de violentos terremotos poderia ter sido a causa. A experiência viva de um terremoto causa forte impressão em Darwin. 2 minutos pareceram uma eternidade. E como a Terra era frágil sob seus pés. A 960 quilômetros a oeste da América do Sul, o Beagle alcança as Ilhas Galápagos. A inteligência de alguns mamíferos, a extraordinária resistência das tartarugas, a incrível beleza natural confirmam a lenda das Ilhas Encantadas. Enormes lagartos, várias ilhas que sobraram de erupções vulcânicas e fortes correntes marítimas. Uma estranha paisagem que leva Darwin e Fitzroy a acreditarem no inferno encantado que os espanhóis chamaram Galápagos.
In the Galapagos Islands, both in time and space, I felt myself brought within reach of that great fact, that mystery of mysteries, the first appearance of new beings on this earth.
By October 1835, we had been in the Galapagos archipelago for some 3 weeks. And with each new island that we visited, the more certain I became that the natural history of the region was eminently curious. I was astonished at the amount of creative force on those small, barren and rocky islands. Most of the plants and animals I had thus far examined appeared to be aboriginal creations, found nowhere else on our planet. Yet although many of them bore a marked relationship to species on the South American mainland, they differed distinctly from island to island. I had no answer to the mystery, but of one thing I was convinced. In quite recent geological times, the unbroken ocean was here spread out. If each individual island in the group had been thrown up from the bed of the ocean, then every form of life must have made its way there by one means or another.
To me, it was clear enough how some of the colonists had arrived on those lava-strewn shores. The many fur seals must have come north, all the way from the Antarctic, with the cool currents sweeping up from the southern oceans. It was truly extraordinary to watch these creatures in their winter overcoats beneath the warmth of the equatorial sun. They reminded me of our own crew aboard the Beagle, whenever the midday sun became too intense and the cool water the only congenial environment.
Darwin, the water's good. Let's see the scurry swim. Jump!
But what of the many reptiles that could not swim? The tortoises and land lizards that abound throughout the Galapagos. It seemed to me impossible that so many different varieties had all made that perilous 600-mile crossing on pieces of driftwood or floating vegetation.
I watched a pair of land lizards fighting over a piece of territory. So barren a spot hardly seemed worthy of their ferocious encounter. But with these hideous creatures, the determination of the stronger to drive off the weaker was a most powerful and basic instinct. No pity was shown to the loser. He had to seek out another territory, less hotly disputed, while the winner remained in solitary command.
In my imagination, I tried to conceive of those distant epochs when reptiles similar to these, but of enormous size, dominated the world. Whenever a new outcrop of land is thrown up out of the turbulent ocean, the first carriers of the seeds of life must surely be the seabirds. Largest of these that I saw were the frigate or man-of-war birds, so named for their habit of harassing and plundering other species. They had been reported as much as 1,000 miles from the nearest land, even though they lack the ability to alight on the surface of the water. And this must increase the likelihood that they carry seeds and tiny insects with them from their place of departure, lodged in their claws and plumage. In the breeding season, the male frigate birds put on a remarkable display. Directly under their throats, they have a bright red inflatable pouch. It acts as a potent lure to the females patrolling the skies above them in search of a partner. Only those males in prime breeding condition possess this outward symbol of their ability to enter into courtship. Thus the female wastes no time in her search for a suitable mate. As with the lizards and other species I observed, the same principles appear to be at work. In the relentless struggle for life, only the strongest and most vigorous survived. In total contrast to the fierce men of war, The blue-footed boobies were of such a tame and stupid disposition that we could have killed any number of them for our table. But even such large and unharassed colonies of seabirds had devised means of ensuring that the strongest will survive. In their nesting grounds, I noticed that although 2 eggs are usually laid, only 1 chick grows to adulthood. The one that first succeeds in gaining its parents' attention on each return from a fishing expedition. If it is to live, the chick, on its own initiative, must recover the half-digested fish from its parent's gullet. How can the harsh lessons of existence be learned so young, except by instinct? It was as if Mozart, instead of playing the piano at 3 years old with wonderfully little practice, had simply played it instinctively, with no practice at all.
Is that starboard gallant sheet jammed? Check
Yes,
right
it is.
there.
It's jammed.
Right. Up aloft on the foremast, starboard gallant sheet seems to be jammed. Can you clear it? Aye, sir.
An activity as complex as sailing the Beagle clearly requires skill and coordination on the part of her crew.
Hoist the inner jib when ready.
Aye, aye, sir.
Yet I was observing activities in the natural world requiring an equal measure of skill, some indeed of infinitely greater complexity. Unless some other species were of equal intelligence to man, then the only way they could perform such tasks must be through inherited instinct.
We had heard so many stories of the large number of tortoises and lizards killed or removed from the islands whenever a ship came this way, that I was therefore the more astonished by the extreme tameness of the birds. The doves, particularly, have been greatly persecuted by sailors, who took cruel delight in knocking down the pretty creatures as if their very tameness were an affront. I was told a man might kill 6 or 7 dozen in a morning's walk. Yet, in spite of this persecution, the birds did not readily become wild.
While resting one day with Covington, a group of mocking thrushes gathered to sip from our pitchers of water. They had yet to learn that man is a much more dangerous animal than a lizard or a tortoise.
On one occasion, I endeavored to see how near I could approach to a hawk. An English hawk would long since have taken fright, but he showed no sign of alarm. As I moved closer, he continued to stand his ground. It was only when I finally raised my gun that he decided to take himself off.
But of all the creatures that excited my curiosity on that extraordinary group of islands, the ones that were to influence the development of my theories over many years were so dull and common in appearance that I very nearly failed to notice them at all. These were the finches that climbed and darted about amongst the cactus trees and other bushes. Although they were all clearly related to each other, there were also distinct differences, particularly in the size and shape of their beaks. The true significance of this, and the possibility that it might shed some light on their distribution throughout the islands, did not occur to me. And those that I kept for my collection became mingled together in the most haphazard fashion. Between us, we had observed 26 species of land bird on the Galapagos Islands, of which 21 can be found nowhere else. But of the 11 marine birds we counted, only 2 were unique. Why this should be so, I could not deduce, unless the land birds, with their greatly restricted mobility, had undergone changes after their arrival. But as we hoisted sail for the last time, I was many years from such conclusions.
Mr. Bosun, carry on away. Set the fore topsail and to gallant.
Aye, sir. Set the fore topsail and to gallant.
It is the fate of every voyager, when he has discovered what object in any place is most worthy of his attention, to be immediately hurried from it. On October the 20th, 1835, we commenced the long passage towards Tahiti and Australia.
I wish we'd kept a better record of exactly which island some of these finches came from, Covington. Didn't seem very important at the time.
If you don't mind my saying so, sir, I think we collect too much. Just occasionally, sir.
They're all slightly different, that's the problem. Take a look at their beaks. You can actually arrange them in order. The ones with large beaks at this end, tapering down to the sharp and narrow beaks over here.
I can see that, sir.
The trouble is, I don't have a complete record of exactly which island the birds came from.
Perhaps the captain could help you. His notes are very detailed.
Does he have the names of the islands where he got his finches?
I think so, sir. Colour of the eyes, everything.
What a thumping incompetent I am, Covington.
There's a story going the rounds that of the two of you, the captain proved to be the more observant naturalist. Is there any truth in that, Mr. Darwin?
Perfectly true, Mr. Wickham. We've decided to change places. From now on, I am to take command of the ship.
Then I shall be the first man overboard. I'd rather take my chances with the sharks.
It can't be denied. I've tried to be a sailor.
And it can't be denied. You failed.
You'd have been astonished, though, Wickham. We found finches with beaks like parrots, thick enough to crack a nut. And others with beaks so thin and pointed they could pierce a plant and suck moisture from it. Or pick up seeds from the hard ground. But I still can't understand why there should be so many of these species here.
On the 8th day, the Lord ran out of new ideas.
And put the question the other way round, philosopher. Why not? Why shouldn't God create as many different finches as he likes? He's created a considerable variety of human beings.
But assuming their ancestors came from South America, we still have to explain their distribution amongst the islands. Your own notes show that, Fitzroy.
I don't see your difficulty, Darwin. We know that the currents between the islands are very strong,
Yes, I can vouch for that.
and the winds generally light.
It would appear so.
There's very little inducement to migrate from one island to another, the climate and vegetation being much the same. They simply stay where they are.
But we never saw so many species of finches on the mainland.
We never looked. Earthquakes seemed more important at the time, as I recall.
But why should such tiny spots of land get their own species?
I see the Galapagos as a wonderful example of the works of nature. Each creature perfectly adapted for the place God intended for it.
Our Garden of Eden. I thought you said it was more like the first ring of hell, Captain.
I was not speaking of a human paradise, Mr. Wickham.
Well, my own observations were a thorough mess. I almost wish I could persuade you to turn the ship round and go back again.
That you cannot.
It never occurred to me that islands in sight of each other could have such different fauna.
Well, don't let it worry you, philosopher. I'm glad my notes proved of some small assistance. And if I might venture a suggestion, in the future, observe the mysteries of nature rather more closely and theorize about them rather less.
After 5 years circumnavigating the world, we were all utterly homesick. Every man aboard was dreaming of England. And in truth, there was no country which had any attraction for us now, except it was seen right astern.
Well, don't read it now. Go through it at your leisure and give me your opinion in a day or so.
I'm sure it's a most excellent account.
Of course, it's far from finished. But I've covered the salient features of the voyage more than adequately, I think. Some may find it overlong, but I'm convinced that a proper record should be set down.
It's unthinkable it should all just end in oblivion.
What of your own work?
I've kept a diary, as you know, but as much for my own use as anything.
Parts of it might prove of a more general interest. If you were agreeable and would consent to put it at my disposal, there might be some way of incorporating it with my own narrative.
I'm afraid it's little more than daily chit-chat.
Well, I'm thinking particularly of the land journeys when I was not present. To omit those would be to give an incomplete account of our adventure.
That's very kind of you, Fitzroy. Much of it's already in England, but if you think it will be of any use, of course.
And some of your notes, as the ship's naturalist, might take the form of an appendix. Oh, we can discuss the details later. Meantime, I'd be most grateful of your opinion of my poor efforts.
What did the captain want, philosopher? Another of your long discussions?
He wants me to give an opinion on his journal of the voyage, and perhaps loan him my diaries so that he can include a few extra passages.
Well, don't tell me you agreed to such an arrangement.
Why not? I'm sure it was most generously meant.
But if he's to have the arranging of the material, he'll be using your narrative to embellish his own.
He is the captain, my dear Bino. Surely he's entitled to present the official version of the voyage.
But you two can't even look at the same rock without disagreeing about it.
You forget, Wickham, I'm here as Fitzroy's guest, and have been these last 5 years.
I still think you should publish separate accounts.
I doubt if I should ever find the time. As soon as we land, there's all my specimens to be sorted out. After that, I have to decide what to do with my life. It's easy for all of you. Your paths are set. No doubt you'll all become admirals and stand no track from the likes of me.
Oh, I don't mind telling you, philosopher, you've changed my way of looking at things in the last 5 years. More than you know. And I'm no more tired of your company now than I was 2 weeks out of Plymouth. I hate it when a voyage comes to an end. We all say we'll meet again soon, but we know we won't, even as we say it. We'll be blown to the four corners of the earth. Well, I'll go on deck.
With Fitzroy's words in mind, I began to record in my diary a summary of our experiences. The pains and pleasures, advantages and disadvantages of a long voyage, such as we had undergone. Without doubt, it was a high satisfaction to behold various countries and the many races of mankind. But that in itself is not enough. It is necessary to look forward to a harvest, however distant it may be, when some fruit may be reaped, some good effected. Among the scenes which had most deeply impressed themselves upon my mind, none surpassed the great primeval forests, undefaced by the hand of man. Whether they were the lush tropical areas of Brazil or those of Tierra del Fuego, where death and decay prevail. No one can stand in those solitudes unmoved and not feel that there is more in man than the mere breath of his body. Why should those arid wastes have taken so firm a hold on my memory? I can scarcely analyze the reason, but it must be partly owing to the free scope given to the imagination. During my travels, I had learned that, as with music, a person who understands every note will more thoroughly comprehend the effect. When looking down from a great height, the mind, undisturbed by minute details, becomes filled with the stupendous dimensions of our world. If, as the ancients supposed, the flat earth was once surrounded by an impassable breadth of water, or by deserts heated to an intolerable degree, who would not look at these boundaries to man's knowledge with deep but ill-defined sensations?
Why not a catastrophic flood? A terrible deluge. The waters rise, pounding the stones together. Mountains collapse into the valleys, leaving sheer walls of rock. Then the waters fall away.
But the pebbles, Fitzroy. You can't produce millions of pebbles as smooth and as round as this in 40 days, or even 400 days.
If the Almighty can create a round earth and a round moon, why should a few round pebbles be beyond him? Why do you suppose these creatures died out? Why should God destroy a creature he once thought proper to create?
There must be a reason. Perhaps the climate changed, or the vegetation which they depend on disappeared.
I'll give you a reason. They failed to survive the flood.
Possibly.
There's an answer for everything in the Bible if you know where to look for it.
Nothing on the journey created such a powerful effect on me as my first experience of an earthquake. The earth, which is considered from our childhood as the very emblem of solidity and security, moved beneath our feet like the crust on a fluid. When I saw the labored works of man overthrown in a minute, I felt the insignificance of his boasted power.
Extraordinary. Seashells. Fossilized seashells at 12,000 feet, some of them. How do you think they got there?
All right. Unravel the mystery, philosopher.
They've been pushed up out of the sea. The whole mountain range has been pushed up out of the sea and the seashells with it. Don't you see? They prove it.
Why do you persist in trying to undermine my beliefs? We've been over this before. The Bible tells us how the earth was created. What do you so persistently set out to challenge its authority?
I don't in any way set out to challenge its authority on religious matters, Fitzroy.
And then whose word are we to take as gospel? God's or yours?
Mr. Darwin, sir. Mr. Darwin, sir.
What is it, Masters?
It's not mustard, sir. It's Mellish.
Sorry, Mellish.
It's a long time now since he died, sir.
Masters? Yes, more than 4 years. Used to bring me a drink, you know, like you.
I know, sir. We joined the same day.
Mellish? How old were you when we sailed?
13, sir.
13.
I'm 18 now, sir.
It's more than a quarter of your life you spent on this voyage.
That's right, sir.
Land ho! On the port bow! Sing
Well done, sir.
Got a fine voyage. 3 cheers for the captain! Hip, hip, hip! Hurrah! Hip, hurrah! Hip, hip, hip! Hurrah!
God bless you, sir.
O most mighty God, thy mercy is over all thy works, but in special manner hath been extended towards us, whom thou hast so powerfully defended. Thou hast shown us the terrible wonders of the deep, and how the winds and seas obey thy command, that we may learn even from them hereafter to obey thy voice and do thy will. Continue, we beseech thee, this thy goodness to us, that we, whom thou hast saved, may serve thee in holiness and righteousness all the days of our life. Amen.
Amen.
Not exactly a hero's welcome, I'm afraid.
The traveller's return. English style.
Perhaps the real reception's planned for Greenwich. Bands and bunting and cheering crowds. I shall miss it.
There will be no real reception. I expect it'll be a month before their lordships at the Admiralty will condescend to see me. Like most human endeavour, our efforts are probably doomed to oblivion. You weren't expecting anyone, surely?
There are no Darwins at Falmouth. But I shall be on the first stage to Shrewsbury.
So, it's goodbye then.
Yes.
We shall meet again in London. The journals. God be with you, Darwin.
And you, Captain Fitzroy?
The stupid people in my coach did not seem to think the fields one bit greener than usual. But as for me, I felt, and still feel, that the whole wide world does not contain so happy a prospect as the rich cultivated land of England.
What time did they say, Papa?
About 3:30, I believe.
They're half an hour late already.
Oh, we've waited 5 years to see him. Another hour will make very little difference, my dear.
5 years and 136 days. And of all the tricks to play on his own family, he just arrives, with no warning at all. I should have fainted away with the shock.
Oh, don't do that today, my dear. Young Charles might put quite the wrong interpretation on it.
No, he's not interested in me. Poor Fanny was the one he had an eye for.
I seem to remember him casting 1 or 2 glances in your direction.
Don't tease, Papa. They're here.
Dearest Emma.
Charles.
Uncle Joss.
Emma? Is this that young lad of yours that ran away to sea?
All is now forgiven.
Would you have recognized him? Papa thinks the shape of his head quite altered.
He's certainly thinner.
You haven't changed.
Don't you think she's grown prettier?
As far as I recall, there was very little room for improvement.
Oh, we've planted a few more trees, but otherwise I don't think you'll notice much difference.
I used to think of the Beagle as my second home, but I was wrong.
What a wicked trick to play on your poor family, Charles, giving them no warning.
It wasn't intended. The ship was due to dock at Woolwich, but I couldn't bear the thought of another day. So I left her at Falmouth and took the first coach I could find to Shrewsbury.
Some of our servants made the arrival of Master Charles an excuse to get most excessively drunk.
What news of Captain Fitzroy? Was it his company which drove you ashore in such a hurry?
By no means. He's in the best of spirits.
But his health. I believe there was some question about his state of mind.
That was 2 years ago. He seems quite recovered. But nothing will ever change his peculiarities of temper.
Judging by your letters, I don't think I should have liked him at all.
I'm quite sure he has a brilliant life ahead of him. But I sometimes wonder whether it will prove a happy one.
And what of you, Charles? What plans are you hatching?
I wish I could be more certain. I have my specimens to sort out. I'm going to collaborate on the ship's journal with Fitzroy. And Henslow has arranged for me to meet Professor Lyle at Cambridge. But apart from that...
Apart from that, he is no nearer the choice of a career than when he went away.
Returning to Cambridge was a painful reminder of how I had wasted my time there. It also brought home to me, more clearly than anywhere else, how much I had changed during those 5 years with the Beagle.
You're very kind, Professor Lyle, but practical experience hardly makes up for my lack of qualifications.
Most men of science use their qualifications rather like a cloak, simply to hide their nakedness. Isn't that so, Henslow?
But when I was up, I just dabbled at whatever took my fancy. Beetles, frogs, a little botany. Henslow knows only too well. My subject was supposed to be theology.
Yes, and you were woefully neglectful of that.
Well, then, you're a Beagle graduate rather than a Cambridge one. So much the better for it.
But even on the Beagle, if it hadn't been for your principles of geology, I wouldn't have known where to begin.
But begin you did.
I've been showing Lyle some of your notes and letters, Charles. He agrees with me. They're very impressive.
It would take me months just to sort out my specimens. The British Museum wouldn't look at them.
I think you'll find we've taken great care of them.
Entirely thanks to you, Henslow.
How soon could you prepare a paper for the Geological Society?
Well, I have been working on something on recent elevations on the coast of Chile.
How about coral reefs?
But that's your subject, Professor Lyle. I wouldn't dream.
We all learn from each other in this world, Mr. Darwin, and from what I hear, you may be very much nearer the truth. That's what matters in science.
You may have gathered, Charles, Professor Lyle has a rather low opinion of some of his colleagues.
Consumed with envy, most of them. Now, if I understand you correctly, you believe that the reef is probably thrown up by a volcano before the coral insects begin to work on it. Then, the bed of the ocean begins to subside, carrying the coral down with it to great depths.
In broad terms, yes. I never saw living coral below a depth of 10 feet.
But then how do you account for the different types of coral formation, atolls, barrier reefs, and so forth?
I'm not sure, but I think the principle remains the same. Each atoll stands like a sort of halo, marking the place where some great mountain has subsided.
You must publish. Before I steal the whole idea. And don't be deflected by the Zoological Society. They're after you too, you know.
Seems to me, Charles, your chances of becoming a quiet country parson are beginning to look rather slim.
Throughout that summer, whenever I could, I visited my uncle's family at Mayor Hall.
He complains of palpitations around the heart. And he doesn't seem to be able to work for more than a couple of hours without a long rest. And what's more, he will go to immense lengths to avoid going out into society.
Have you examined him?
Oh, of course. Nothing but apparently contradictory symptoms. Could be any one of 100 causes. Prolonged seasickness, subtropical disease. I wish I knew.
Will you give me a push, Charles?
My dearest Emma, I am trying to concentrate.
What are you writing that's so important?
I'm finishing the introduction to my part of the Beagle Journal.
I thought Captain Fitzroy was going to write it.
He is. The main part, that is. But it's been agreed that my account should be a separate volume.
How exciting! You'll be an author.
Of course, it could just be nerves. A reaction from the voyage.
In which case, he should get married. That'd soon settle him down.
You mean you want me to support the pair of them, eh?
Why doesn't he marry her? Nothing will make me happier, you know that.
I quite agree. Why doesn't he?
Thoughts on Marriage by Charles Darwin. Advantages. Children, if it pleases God. Constant companion and friend in old age. Charms of music and feminine chit-chat.
Come for a walk, Charles. It will be good for your digestion.
I will in a minute. This is a tremendously important scientific study.
Disadvantages. Terrible loss of time. If many children, forced to gain one's bread.
If you want my opinion, you were a deal more amusing before you went away.
It is quite intolerable to think of spending one's whole life like a neuter bee. Working, working, and nothing after it all. It won't do. Picture to yourself a nice soft wife on a sofa, with good fire and books and music perhaps. One cannot live the solitary life with groggy old age, friendless, cold and childless, staring one in the face. There is many a happy slave. Conclusion. Marry, marry, marry.
Captain Fitzroy.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Wickham.
The married man. Congratulations. It would seem there's nothing like a long voyage to weaken a man's resistance. Well, I take it you won't be looking for another command in the immediate future.
I think not. As soon as our new house is habitable, I trust you'll call on us.
I shall look forward to it.
And what news of the Beagle?
The refit is nearly complete. We sail for Australia in 2 months.
I almost envy you.
I understand you wrote to the Lords Commissioners recommending me for the command.
Your conduct, above all your loyalty, during the last 5 years had already spoken for you. Did you read the manuscript I sent you?
Darwin's preface to his journals, yes. An excellent start. I never thought he would write so well.
You seem to have overlooked the point.
The point?
Nowhere in his introductory pages is your name mentioned, or Sullivan's, or Byner's. You'll find not a single reference to any of the men or officers who accompanied him on his shore expeditions, not a single acknowledgement or word of thanks. That is why I asked you to read it.
But you know the philosopher as well as I do. It's not his nature to be ungenerous. He simply got carried away in one of his bouts of enthusiasm. It's of no consequence.
I trust you may be right. However, I do not share your view that the matter is of only trifling importance. I begin to suspect that we may have been harboring a viper in our midst.
Not Mr. Darwin. I'd stake my life on that.
Well, we shall see.
Captain Fitzroy presents his compliments to Mr. Darwin and recommends that he refer the matter of his preface to some third person whose personal feelings are not involved.
Frosty indeed.
Captain Fitzroy therefore begs to decline giving an opinion at present and will only venture to remark, his memory being rather tenacious on the subject, that there were obliging, disinterested and kind-hearted officers on board the Beagle, dated 13th of November, 1837.
I thought you two were supposed to be on intimate terms after 5 years.
It was very wrong of me. I shall apologize, of course, and make amends.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. But I fancy there's rather more to it than that.
What do you mean?
Well, poor Fitzroy, locked into the narrow strictures of a naval career, which scarcely suits his temperament, obliged to complete his hydrographic reports, while he sees you embraced by the scientific world, fellow of the Geological Society, elected to the Athenaeum and the Linnaean Society. I detect a touch of envy in his voice, my dear Charles.
He does have rather a perverse way of looking at people's motives.
Well, why let it worry you? You must pursue your path. He his. He belongs to a dying breed, wouldn't you say?
I don't think I would. He has a most inquiring mind, and I would have thought a brilliant future ahead of him.
And, if I remember rightly, vehemently opposed the Reform Bill. In my opinion, he belongs to that subspecies of the English aristocracy, which cannot change and so must necessarily perish.
You don't really know him. He's certainly no dinosaur. The Navy needs men like him.
The Navy is welcome to him. Now, what were you asking me?
About species.
Oh, yes.
You think they all have a natural lifespan, just like an individual?
Very possibly, yes. But what determines its length? That is the problem.
Well, perhaps a change in the climate or vegetation.
But then one would expect them all to perish, and not just some of them.
Suppose the world were in a state of continuous change.
And species not immutable. You must tread very carefully there, Charles. That is one of the great heresies of our age. Are you dining at the club tonight?
Not tonight. I must get a letter off to Fitzroy.
Let him nurse his damaged pride a little longer. Come along.
There was one subject occupying my mind that I was not yet ready to share with anyone. There are two kinds of generation. The vegetative, as we see in the grafting of apples and roses, and ordinary sexual generation. New individuals produced by grafting are absolutely similar. But with ordinary sexual generation, this is not so. Ancient Egyptian dogs and cats are certainly like those of today, but separate a pair and place them on an isolated island, and it is very doubtful whether they would remain constant. If the propagation of a new species is determined by the changing of old ones, then we begin to see why new animals in an area might resemble those that have long been extinct. Suppose that all animals and plants, old and new, are represented by an irregularly branched tree. As new twigs sprout, so many old ones die. With so much extinction, many ancient species would have no modern descendants. And amongst the species that do live on, there would be gaps. But if we accept the endless modification of species and their geographical grouping, what are the causes of these changes? If we let conjecture run wild, then all animals, our fellow brethren in pain, disease, suffering, and death, may partake from our origin in one common ancestor. We may all be melted together. The grand question which every naturalist ought to have before him is, what are the laws of life?
If it's so important, then explain it to me again. I'm much brighter than you appear to think.
You know it isn't that. It's just that I'm probably hopelessly wrong.
I won't mind, will I?
Imagine that to be a tree.
The tree of life, as you call it.
The trunk, down here at the bottom, would represent the very first beginnings of life.
Do you mean all life?
Everything,
The creation?
if you like. Then gradually, the branches develop. And then they produce their own twigs.
But when was there time for all this if the whole of creation lasted only a week?
You have to imagine the changes happening over thousands of years. It's only when man intervenes that the process is speeded up.
I don't think I understand.
Think of your own rose beds, or the animals on the farm. By selective breeding, man has made bigger roses, cows which produce more milk, racehorses which run faster and faster.
But that is artificial. It doesn't happen in nature.
But suppose it does. Suppose that very, very slowly, nature has produced wolves for running and moles for digging.
And you're saying that they all come from the trunk of the same tree?
I think it's possible.
I don't understand you, Charles. Moles breed moles, and wolves breed wolves. They always will, so far as I can see. And besides, where do we fit in?
I was coming to that. What would you say if I asked you to marry me?
Darling Charles, of course I'll marry you. But I still don't really understand about your tree of life.
Neither do I.
Wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband, to live together after God's ordinance all thy days in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou obey him and serve him, love, honor, and keep him in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other, keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live? Then you answer, I will.
I will.
And then I say, who giveth this woman to be married to this man? Yes, that's when you step forward, Uncle Josh.
And I shall say, you have drawn a prize indeed.
I think we should try to stick to the words laid down. So, after the exchange of rings, you have a choice of psalms. You can either have Psalm 128, blessed are all they that fear the Lord and walk in his ways, or you can have Psalm 67.